And watch Andrew Jessup on your left, well-dressed Ross Merriam on your right. What's the deal here?
I don't know.
Boy, nice little blazer, button up. Get this man a tie and a headset, people, as we are underway. We got Ornithopter. Let's make it 2 of those along with the Blink Month Nexus.
In between rounds, Ross is selling life insurance.
Well, whatever it takes to make a living. Copperline Gorge and the Faithless Looting is what he's doing during this round. As he'll draw 2 cards, discard 2. Obviously, it's clear he knows what he's up against. Andrew Jessup, if he didn't know before, he will know now, as a couple of cards are going to go to the graveyard. It's Bloodghast and Stinkweed Imp, and we are going to head back over to Andrew Jessup. It's all about speed now, folks.
Yes, and the real swing card in this matchup is Conflagrate. If Ross can get to that quickly, can devastate Jessup's battlefield. I think in the abstract, though, Affinity a little bit faster of a deck, so Ross has got to find it fast with the appropriate amount of mana. It's
a cranial plating here for Jessup, but he does not have a Mox Opal to allow an equip on the Ornithopter. So now Ross will dredge 5, Faithless Looting, Stinkweed Imp. Actually, it's a Thug he's dredging, so it'll be just a dredge 4. Stinkweed Imp actually hit in that dredge. My apologies for the confusion. We're going to head back over to Merriam. Keep in mind, both these players still very much in top 8 contention at 9-3. If they're able to win out, you can lock up a berth to the top 8 for them. Narcomoeba in Ross Merriam's hand right now. Among other options, he'll play a Blood Crypt tapped. That'll trigger Bloodghast. Bloodghast will come back, and he'll simply pass the turn back. So we're going to head back over to Andrew Jessup, who will draw a card. Picked up a copy of Signal Pest. Not the fastest start for our Affinity player here, but there's a cranial plating on the battlefield and some widgets to equip it to.
And got to get the plating on something this turn and start the clock. He can deploy whatever other 1-mana artifact he wants to. Probably, I would guess the Signal Pest adds the most of the clock over the long term. But that plating's got to get on something, and he's got to start attacking.
Does have a copy of Vault Scourge in hand as well. Gaining life against Dredge can be ideal. I think the problem that Andrew Jessup has right now is there's not a 3rd mana source, but we'll see. He does also have a copy of Arcbound Ravager in hand. Just might not be the right time to deploy that one.
Well, this isn't really a Ravager matchup, other than implications with Conflagrate, insulating yourself a little bit from that. You are much more interested in cranial plating in this matchup. The game is mostly a race, and Ravager and plating don't necessarily play well together in terms of increasing your clock. So the 2 powerful cards in the deck, the 2 most powerful cards, but I think at this point, Jessup well-served ignoring the Ravager and just start leveraging the plating.
Plating on Ornithopter makes it a 4-power creature. It'll be an attack for 4. Merriam going to fall down to 16. He'll start dredging. Here comes Stinkweed and 5 cards.
11 a.m. standard challenge.
Burning Inquiry was the first. There's Conflagrate, Cathartic Reunion, Life from the Loam among those cards. So Stinkweed Imp going to go to the hand, most notably Conflagrate in the graveyard. So we'll see exactly how Merriam wants to go about using that powerful spell.
Yeah, that's a big hit there for Ross. And good to have it this turn, because next turn, Jessup could play Arcbound Ravager and really complicate things. But here, it's just a clean shot.
Yep, he's going to discard 5 cards, 2, 2, and 1. Means he's going to clean up Jessup's battlefield. Bloodghast going to come back from the graveyard. Here's an attack with the Bloodghast that was already there, and now it's 18-16. Yes, in favor of Jessup, but his battlefield just got decimated.
Yes, and it takes a lot of sting out of the cranial plating. He's a turn away from being able to attack with something and lost all of his artifacts.
Now the question is, can Jessup rebuild? Did pick up a copy of Memnite, not the best card in the matchup, but it is a free artifact. You see the Arcbound Ravager that he has in his hand. Can't forget about the Vault Scourge too. So there is Memnite.
Magic players, we are now taking sign up for today's 2 p.m. standard challenge, as well as the 2 p.m. two-headed giant sealed spectacular. So if you'd like to play in either of those events, you can make your way over to the side.
And now there's Vault Scourge. Jessup will take 2 to cast a tie game here at 16 apiece now. He'll equip the Vault Scourge with the cranial plating. 3 artifacts means it'll be a 4-1 lifelinking flyer as Merriam's going to untap here.
And you may wonder why not play the Ravager that turn. The problem is that Dredge is really good at gumming up the ground. And it's just so likely next turn, if Jessup is all in on the ground, that he can't make a profitable attack.
Dark Blast here from Merriam. Well, he's also going to dredge this as it was already in his hand. Prize Amalgam goes into the graveyard. Here comes our good pal Bloodghast in for 4.
And Dark Blast against Affinity is...
Is that good? That is good.
Quite potent.
Yes. Potent potables, I would call Dark Blast.
Usually in the sideboard, if anywhere in the list, but Ross with 2 in the main deck here, and think this will be too much to overcome. I think that Conflagrate, when it showed up, was, I think if Jessup had one more turn, maybe he could have gotten through it. But that combined with the Dark Blast here, I think we'll be going to a second game momentarily with Ross up 1.
Well, I don't think it's nice to talk about Mem Knight like that. Mem Knight got in there for 1, and it died in response to Archon Ravager.
A welding jar.
Ah, the jar. Maybe a little late here. Not the best draw here from Andrew Jessup. Affinity is capable of much more explosive things, but not this particular game, as Ross is going to dredge 5 here from a Stink Wimp. The 1-2 flyer will be added back to his hand, of course replacing his draw step. And Merriam's going to come in with Bloodghast once again. Now, I do have to check my old bingo sheet here, Patrick, because it looks like I think we've had a player dredge 3 or more cards here. Yeah. Yeah, we have. Bang. I'm very close to bingo now, as Ross is going to dredge a couple more cards here thanks to Faithless Looting. Looks like he's going to dredge another
Do we have 5
Stinkweed.
artifacts? We never got to 5 artifacts in play, right? Because he had Ornithopter plating Memnite.
Mm-hmm.
And Ross never had an enchantment or artifact?
That's true. That's on your board?
Yeah, 5 or more enchantments or artifacts
Okay.
in play.
We're going to go over to Jessup now. Picked up another copy of Cranial Plane to go along with Massive Ethereum. Just a little short. Just a little short. Jessup trying to figure out if there's any way that he can get back into this game. And he realizes that he cannot, so he will concede. Ross Merriam going to win game number 1 here over Andrew Jessup. Dredge, pretty easily up a game over Affinity. That's kind of the power of Conflagrate, killing everything. Jessup could not rebuild his battlefield, and that does it. So we're going to get to the sideboards here in just a moment. While we wait for these 2 players to get situated, a couple words from our sponsors. Take a look at the sideboards here between Andrew Jessup and Ross Merriam. We will start with Jessup since he'll be on the play here for game number 2. 2 Grab Triggers Cage, 2 Thoughtseize, 2 Spell Pierce, 2 Gear Pile Aether Grid, 2 Edge Champion, 2 Ancient Grudge, a Mind Break Trap, a Whip Flare, and a Blood Moon.
2 copies of Grab Digger's Cage, of course, top billing here. A challenging card for Merriam to interact with. I think all the rest of this is below the board to bring in.
I'm not excited about pretty much any of this other stuff.
Yeah.
So we take a look at Merriam's side. He's got 3 Thoughtseize, 3 Lightning Axe, 2 Collective Brutality, 2 Ancient Grudge, 2 Nature's Claim, a Ley Line on the Void, a Maelstrom Pulse, and a Gnaw to the Bone. Some pretty obvious ones here, I think.
Yeah, the grudges and the claims here are obviously interact with artifacts. That's great. 3 copies of Lightning Axe for a little bit more creature removal. And this matchup is probably enough of a damage race where you could bring in the Gnaw to the Bone as well.
Sometimes they do go infect style on you, but
yep.
I think for the most part, if you can fit in that Gnaw to the Bone as a 1-of, I think that's a pretty good spot to be.
It's a 1-of, and the opportunity cost is so low because it's just about milling it over. It's not a card you actually have to draw.
Yeah, yeah. So those are the options there for both players. Game number 2, as I mentioned, going to be underway here between Andrew Jessup and Ross Merriam momentarily. For Jessup, he will be on the play. For Merriam, he'll be on the draw. And we can take a moment here to learn a little bit more about Ross Merriam as he was victorious in that first game. Player that we almost saw go back-to-back. But he's got enough open top 8s. He's got nothing to be sad about with 19 for the 20-year-old, from Middleton, Connecticut. 4 wins, 2 invitational top 8s. Perhaps this will be his 3rd. Huge Jeopardy fan, actually appeared on the show in July 2016. Likes the Utah Jazz way too much.
I asked him about that because, he's from Connecticut originally, now lives in Roanoke, but he was just a big fan of the Stockton Malone teams.
Yeah. He's insufferable. Had to hear about the Jazz winning yesterday from him. And there's a Graph Digger's Cage, a Vault Scourge, a Mox Opal, and a Dark Cell Citadel. Start things here for Jessup, a much better start. Here's a Faithless Looting for Merriam. He will draw 2 and discard 2 here momentarily. We're going to have to get Ross out of that Joe Ingles jersey soon.
Jingle and Joe?
Might be about that time, yeah. A Prized Amalgam and a Stinkweed Imp going to go to the grave right here for Ross. We're going to head back over to Andrew now. He's even got a Cranial Plating, boy.
Oh, and picked up a Spell Pierce out of the sideboard too. Really nice to cover the Graph Digger's Cage.
Pretty good hand here for Jessup. This is part of the appeal of Affinity. It starts like this. that make you want to play this deck, because Vault Scourge is going to be attacking for a bunch in the second turn, and maybe more importantly, Andrew Jessup is going to gain a bunch of life too.
And if you can untap and have the cover of Spell Pierce, he, I think, is a huge favorite to take this one.
We'll be dredging. We will be dredging. Narcomoeba will not be coming back thanks to the Grafdigger's Cage. Nature's Claim, Lightning Axe, some of the sideboarded cards that Ross did dredge away. Ross is going to play another copy of Copperline Gorge and simply pass the turn back. So we're going to head back over to Andrew Jessup now. Jessup will draw a card. As Patrick mentioned, he's got Spell Pierce in hand.
I guess Spell Pierce is also, at least on the play, a way to break up Faithless Looting. And sometimes their hands are just, if that card gets countered, it's a dead end.
Yep. Well, there's Inkmoth. Inkmoth will turn on the active Inkmoth. And now both these knuckleheads will come in. Andrew controlling 6 artifacts.
May want to use the Citadel here to animate the other Nexus just for an extra point.
Sure.
He's got the Opal still, so he's leaving up Spell Pierce that way.
Yep. So a little bit of infect damage, but a lot of regular damage here. 32-6 in favor of Andrew Jessup here. Ancient Grudge. Gonna go after Grafdigger's Cage. No. Gonna Spell Pierce that, bro.
Have a little bit of that.
Yeah. Ross will be untapping. He'll be drawing. He might be conceding right now. Conflagrate the draw. Not the worst draw I've ever seen, but not great either.
Well, all this is a bit of a dead end here if he can't get the cage off the table.
Yep.
Can't flash back the Ancient Grudge. Can't do anything with the Narcomoeba. Prize Amalgam off the table. All of this is shut down, which is why Ross is, having to take some natural draw steps here. Oh, that is 5 artifacts on the battlefield, by the way, for bingo purposes.
Oh, well, thank goodness for that.
Yeah.
You get a little stamp on there. Let's see where that is. Okay. Doesn't change too much on your board.
No.
That's good.
Not a big deal.
That's good.
Feels good, doesn't amount to much.
If I get a card cast off suspend, by the way, it's a W for me.
Card cast off suspend. Actually has to be cast, though?
Yes, is cast off suspend.
Okay.
So, unlike the Ancestral Visions that we were suspending an hour ago.
No, some of those came off.
Some of them were also Wasteland Stranglers.
But then we just drew, they were.
Yeah.
So Wasteland Strangler, I'll target your Vendilion Click and your Ancestral.
Yeah. Yeah. Tough to watch, really.
It's like, calm down, dude, calm down. You win, that's fine. You don't
trying to have a little fun on my break. Ross is going to sacrifice a Bloodstained Mire. See what land he wants to search up. He's going to fall down to, a little lower. Make it 3.
It's a time to cast old Stinky.
I think it's either Stinky or Conflagrate for 1 on Vault Scourge. And then try to beat the infect portion of things.
Old Stinky.
There's Conflagrate. Vault Scourge down. And he's going to stink up the joint soon enough. Let's go back over to Andrew Jessup now, who's got some great positioning in this game. He'll untap his Citadel, his Mox. Both Inkmoths. Picked up another Citadel. He'll play that Citadel. He's going to activate. He'll activate probably his other Nexus as well. And he'll use the Mox to put a hat on one of them. And we're done. We're done. As Andrew Jessup is going to tie things up here against Ross Merriam. Affinity, Dredge, getting ready for G3. Remember, both these players still very much in top 8 contention, and both of them are going to go back to the drawing board here. And while they do that, we'll take a moment to hear from our sponsors.